What's up, guys? So Chapter 6 of the Book of Boba Fett is coming out tomorrow. And this is the second to last episode of the Book of Boba Fett, and is written by none other than Dave Filoni himself. So stuff's about to go down. Stuff's about to get crazy, and I'm going to give you all my predictions for what I think is going to happen in Chapter 6 right now. So we left off in Chapter 5 with Fennec Shand coming to get Mando to help Boba with this fight against the Pikes. Mando agrees, and he says, I'll do it on the house, but I gotta go find my little friend first. So we know that he's going to find Grogu. His little friend is Grogu. Unless we're talking about a completely different little friend, we're talking about Grogu. And we know that he's there with Luke Skywalker, probably training in the Jedi ways. So there's a few questions that come up. How is Mando going to find them? And is Grogu and or Luke going to come back with him to help fight the Pikes? First of all, how is Mando going to find Luke Skywalker? He could be anywhere in the galaxy. He could be on Dagobah. He could be at a Jedi temple right now. He could just be going around the galaxy looking for Jedi artifacts, which in Legends he technically is right now. And in some canon comics, the timeline is a little iffy, but that's what he does after Episode 6 is he goes around the galaxy looking for Jedi artifacts and other such beings. Maybe Grogu was one of those Jedi artifacts / beings that he just happened upon when he called him on the Titan Seeing Stone. So maybe Mando does know where they are. Maybe he's kept in contact with Luke or kept in contact with Grogu, but I don't think so. I think he's going to go to some Jedi temple that's already established and he knows where Luke Skywalker is. But if Luke hasn't already established his Jedi temple, then he could be anywhere. Imagine Mando showing up on Dagobah to find Luke training Grogu. That would just be epic. And maybe even a little Ben Solo, 6 years old, is there. Because at the time, right now, he would be around 6 or 7 years old, and that is when a youngling would start training as a Jedi, is Ben Solo's age right now. So imagine a Grogu and little Ben Solo just playing around as fighting with lightsabers as tiny little younglings. Don't invite Anakin. So I think when Mando finally finds Luke and Grogu, Luke's going to help him with the Darksaber. We saw him struggle a lot with the Darksaber in the last episode. It's ridiculously heavy for him because he's not one with this Darksaber. This Darksaber is something special where it just has its own feeling. And if you don't go with it, you're fighting against it and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And Mando is trying to figure out how to use it. And maybe even Luke might give him some pointers and you might see the Darksaber clash with the green lightsaber of Luke Skywalker in some sparring for Luke trying to train Din Djarin, which would be insanity. I would absolutely lose my mind, but I think that's likely to happen. I think how else would Din learn how to use the Darksaber, and why else wouldn't he learn from the greatest Jedi there's ever been in Luke Skywalker? So I think Din's just going to go check up on Grogu, give him whatever the armor made for him, and leave. I think he's going to leave without Grogu or Luke Skywalker. And I think by the end of Book of Boba Fett, he's going to have to go back and get Grogu for some reason, whatever. But I think he's going to leave without either of them. And he's going to go back to Boba and help him out. I think that's how the episode's going to start. And we are going to definitely see Boba Fett in his own show in the 6th episode. I can guarantee you that. It's not going to be an all-Din show. I really hope not. Because although Chapter 5 was awesome and it followed Mando all the way through, there was no Boba Fett in it, and this is the Book of Boba Fett. So you can't have a 7-episode show where the main character's only in 5 of them. It can't work. I just can't see it happening. So I think the first 20 to 30 minutes, or first half of the show, is going to be Mando going to train with Luke and Grogu, and then coming back to Tatooine to help Boba out. And when he gets there, there might be some fight that he has to intervene in with Chrysanthemum and Boba Fett versus the Pikes, and Fennec Shand versus the Pikes. It's going to be awesome. So now you have the Pikes, which I still don't think are just the Pikes, versus Boba, Mando, Chrysanthemum, Fennec, and the Vespa gang. That's pretty sick. But their rivals right now are just the Pikes. The Pikes we've seen a few times through Solo and the Clone Wars and all that stuff, but they're not that big of a bad guy for this Boba Fett show. I think the Pikes, again, are still being ruled by a higher power in the Crimson Dawn, led by Qi'ra herself from the Solo movie, the love interest of Han Solo, why he leaves Corellia to find Qi'ra. I think she is leading the Pikes, and I think her right-hand man is going to be Cad Bane. So now you have a crazy matchup of the people I just mentioned, Chrysanthemum, Boba, Mando, Fennec, the Vespa gang, versus Qi'ra, the Pikes, Crimson Dawn, and Cad Bane. Now that is insanity. And this leads to a lot more bigger things in Han Solo, Leia, and Luke Skywalker having their first ever appearance on screen after the original trilogy together. And the only reason this could happen is because Qi'ra. Qi'ra brings in Han, and where there's Han, right now he's married happily to Leia. We'll see the fallout of that probably through this Mando timeline, but right now they're happily married. And we have never seen in the sequel trilogy Luke, Leia, and Han on screen together. Not once. It was the biggest missed opportunity in the sequels. Just absolutely, say what you will about the sequels, but there's one thing they really should have done, is had the three of them on the screen all at one time, just meeting up again. It has to happen. So I think Dave and John are going to give us that. And what better than a Dave Filoni written episode? Dave Filoni's writing this episode for a reason. He wrote the Ahsoka episode because he pretty much created the Ahsoka character with George Lucas in the Clone Wars. And now he's doing this episode because it's probably going to be Cad Bane's and Qi'ra's, both characters that show up in that same Star Wars Clone Wars / Star Wars Rebels timeline. And I think this episode is going to end on a huge cliffhanger, probably revealing that Qi'ra is the head of the Crimson Dawn and the big bad, and maybe even Cad Bane standing next to her. So it's going to definitely end in some crazy big way, and it's going to be something epic that you do not want to miss. Smash like if you like these predictions and you like this video. Hit subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on any videos that I post throughout the week, because we'll be having a breakdown tomorrow, but we'll be having videos all throughout the week like we did this week, breaking down the last episode and this episode to come, and episodes for the rest of time, because Star Wars is back and better than ever, as I always say. And may the Force be with you, always.